Do it. Let's do it.
Yep.
Falls out. Recovered by Kuechly. Right side is busting through, making the tackle. Shaq Thompson for a 3-yard loss.
Shaq busting through. My goodness. And what we see is long-term offense coming to fruition because Cam is actually a pocket quarterback. Who knew? Oh my goodness.
Tackle for McCaffrey. Busting through for 30, 35, 40. Quick race down the right side. Here goes at the 50, 40 to the Miami 30, 20 at the 10. A swipe with the ankles. They can't get him. Touchdown, Christian McCaffrey.
They can't get him. They can't get him.
They can't get them, but you can catch us. It's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. live. My name's Tony Dunn. I'm here chopping up the latest news and opinions about the Carolina Panthers with my man, Cody Lashney. How are you doing, my friend?
Tony Dunn, I'm wonderful, man, because it's a Tuesday night, and even in the dead season, when there's not a lot to talk about, there's still a lot to talk about. We have the best Panthers chat room on YouTube. Legacy Lynn, Underground West, Pigskin Pete, what's up, brother? Ken Diet, man, we're ready to go. Let's have another wonderful show. Talk about the best team in the NFL, brother.
If you can hear the podcast right now on YouTube, smash that thumbs up button and maybe even just let us know that our levels are okay in the chat room. You can catch me on Twitter at cat_chronicles, and we encourage you to subscribe on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. And the greatest way you can help the podcast grow is by taking the link where you're listening. If you're listening on Podcast Addict, if you're listening on Stitcher, if you're on YouTube, copy and paste that link, share it on social media with whoever you talk about the Carolina Panthers the most. They will help us. They will join our effort to make Panther Nation bigger and better each and every day. You can continue to be a big part of the show by calling in the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. We'll feature your calls on the chat, on the show. All right, Cody, enough of that. Tonight's show is MVG or MVP. I'm talking about my man, Christian McCaffrey. Is he the most valuable G? Because we saw those biceps. We've been oohing and ahhing and going crazy about those biceps for weeks now. Well, he's in GQ talking about his diet, and it is boring, but he could also be MVP this season, according to a recent article. MVG or MVP?
How about both of them, man? I mean, until proven otherwise, Peter Schrager was on Good Morning Football talking about how McCaffrey could be a dark horse MVP candidate, and how could you not agree with him? I mean, he's a running back that possesses the potential for 1,000 yards receiving and rushing. I mean, we have a weapon on our team, and listen, man, that guy takes it serious. Is that not the bicep of a man who takes this job damn serious? If it isn't, I've never seen one in my life. That level of dedication is absolutely on another level. I'm excited, man. I don't think there is a player on our team that I'm more excited about, even though this is his third year, than CMC, man. A ton of potential.
Well, those biceps are something to be seen, a sight to be seen, a sight to behold. And if I liked men, boy, oh boy. But I tell you what.
He's a handsome man.
He is not the MVG. You can't replace Cam Newton as the greatest G on the team. Nah, my man's cool. But I'm going to tell you this, is that I don't know how you can say you're an MVG when all you do is eat bison chili and sleep 12 hours a day. My man only drinks water and works out. Boy, a lot of supplements. In a way, hey, no accusations here. He's pretty open. Is that he gets up, egg yolks only, goes and works out, supplement, water, supplement, workouts, bison chili, bedtime, do it again. Christian McCaffrey looks great. but man, he's not the guy that's going to be burning down the barn at the kegger.
No, he's not. And I'll tell you, bison is delicious, by the way. If you ever have the opportunity to try some, oh my God, a bison burger will melt your mind. It's wonderful. But yeah, listen.
Especially when it's prepared by a chef in Colorado.
Yeah.
My man eats his diet. And the reason we're talking about this today, folks, I guess we should kind of set it up a little bit more, is that this picture that Cody's got up here took the world by storm. You can't help but look at this guy and go, hey, the biggest criticism about Christian McCaffrey was he's not big enough. He's not going to be able to endure the punishment of the NFL. He's been punishing the NFL. He's putting on weight. He's all muscle, right? But the story goes that GQ got a hold of this and they interviewed Christian McCaffrey, and all he does is eat food prepared by a chef in Colorado, mailed to him specifically based on his genetic makeup and his blood type and all of this, which is awesome. Kind of thinking the reason that I can't lose weight is because my blood type, some issues going on there, but I'm pretty sure that the problem is I drink every day almost. Christian McCaffrey only drinks water each and every all day. That's it.
Listen, I know my problem. I have a seafood diet. I see food and I eat it. I mean, that's not the type of diet that Christian McCaffrey adheres to. Listen, when you listen to a professional athlete talk about, the sacrifice and the training, and all that's a good, fine and dandy. But the diet and the regimen that you have to make sure that your body is on to be able to perform at the highest level, in and out every Sunday, a lot of people aren't cut out for it, man. You're driving home. Hey, man, I want a cheesesteak, or I want a biscuit from Bojangles, or I want
chicken wings from the parking lot.
You have to be able to know how to tell yourself no. I have to put those urges away. I have to be a professional football player, and that's who Christian McCaffrey is, man. Salute to him. Because, I'm not doing that.
Discipline.
I love my food.
Total discipline. He says in the story, it's really cool. He says he wakes up at 8 a.m. He has this specific, he said, look, he had his blood work done. He found out what his body is sensitive to, what it's deficient in. He cut out things that we typically find as healthy: chicken, wheat, soy, tuna. Right, kind of a mini cleanse. He goes on to say that, but he says this. He says, after my first workout, I drink lots of water and another scoop of pre-workout and some aminos. My man is on the diet of supplements as well. That right there, folks, is not just eating your Wheaties and exercising a little bit. Like Cody's saying, that's a 24-hour commitment at this point. He has put his physical, he is like going to be like T.O. in the hyperbaric chamber in a couple of years.
Cam Newton says that Greg Olsen and McCaffrey have, what did he say? Caucasian preparation. I'm just telling you what he says now. This is coming from the mouth of Cam Newton, all right? But that's
what Cam Newton said? Caucasian
preparation. Him and Greg Olsen did the Caucasian preparation. Hey, Cam Newton's words, not mine. But he is definitely a prepared young man. And listen, if our offensive line is going to be as good as we feel that it can be, then, man, McCaffrey could have a Todd Gurley type of season. I mean, easily. Very, very easily. He has the potential to do it.
Let me ask you this, though. Can he really be MVP?
No, because it's a quarterback competition. They never – now in today's NFL –
let me ask you this, though. Is that –
I don't think so.
I agree. I'm 100% with you. Christian McCaffrey cannot be the MVP as long as he plays on the Carolina Panthers with Cam Newton. And I will not argue. Look, I'm not going to say that it's not just a quarterback thing. Is that it's hard to see the Panthers having instrumental success or real success without Cam Newton playing well.
Oh,
So,
for sure.
what I'm arguing is that he could have truly an MVP caliber season. But
Right.
if Cam Newton doesn't have a great season, there's a limit to it, a ceiling to it. I would argue that it's going to be hard to surpass Cam Newton as the MVP on the team, whether or not it truly was the case that season.
Well, listen, if we have a good season and we're able to make a deep playoff run, and heaven forbid win a Super Bowl, yeah, our team lives and dies with Cam Newton, and we've said that a ton, man. We don't know what Cam Newton means to the offense, but it means that he has the ability to distribute the football to Christian McCaffrey on check downs. He's a safety valve kind of player, can run in between the tackles. I mean, he is an all-purpose running back in today's NFL. He does everything that you want him to do. And, while other running backs might have a bigger name, I legitimately mean it when I say this. I would rather have no back in the NFL than McCaffrey at this point in his life right now.
Yeah, I mean, is that the only back that I think Alvin Kamara is in that conversation. I think they're very similar, though, in a lot of ways. Joey always said Alvin Kamara was Christian McCaffrey with an ass. And now that Christian McCaffrey has got some arm, he's a boob. He's like a boob man, obviously, than an ass man in comparison. But no, is that really he could have a phenomenal year. There's no reason not to believe he won't as long as we stay healthy. But again, it's going to be difficult to have a career, an MVP caliber year unless Cam Newton is at least better than good. That's what I would do. Maybe not. Maybe Cam Newton goes down. Nope, heaven forbid. I don't want that to happen. Maybe Will Grier comes in and then all of a sudden then Christian McCaffrey's numbers and they have enough success to where it doesn't hurt as much as you would think it was, and that's how he could earn the MVP. Just think it's hard to get past Cam Newton.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. Do you think there's ever going to be another MVP in the NFL that's a running back? Because from my perspective, I think it's a quarterback. It's a quarterback prize. If you're the quarterback of the team, you're going to win the award if you put your team in the Super Bowl. That's pretty much how it has been. I mean, especially if you look at Todd Gurley last year and the type of season he had and the fact that he didn't win, I mean, there might never be another running back to win that.
Scott Thomas did point out that Barkley is that type of player, and that is the truth. And you're right, Lynn, this is not a good conversation. Let's move on from this conversation then, actually. Let's talk about this. Someone who Christian McCaffrey will not hang out with is the guy in the parking lot who is willing to play for chicken wings. Christian McCaffrey will play with him, but he will not eat lunch with my man. Cody, tell me about this guy that is hanging around in the Carolina Panthers parking lot working for chicken wings.
Yeah, so listen, instead of me telling you about him, I'll let the man introduce himself. And this man is trying to become a Carolina Panther, but he's not necessarily doing it for the big contract that children grow up dreaming about. I'll let the man tell you.
So why are you doing this?
I just want a shot. Have a long football career, and I'm ready for it to keep going. I'm ready to move on to the next level.
What separates you from everybody else? Why you?
I just feel like, I think we talked about a little earlier, it takes a lot of humility to do something like this. I know what it's like. I've been an underdog my entire football career. I know what it's like to work hard. I know what it's like to be sixth string. I know what it's like to work from the bottom to the top. So I think that's what separates me. I'm willing to come out here and do what it takes, no matter what it takes.
So if you can read that sign, It says, will pass rush for hot wings. Okay, this man is desperate. Either he's hungry or this man just wants to play some damn football. His name
Jordan Harold is his name.
Yeah,
and if
Jordan
you
Harold.
look at the sign, I like this. First of all, I don't know if he made it himself, but he definitely didn't get it like professionally printed, which I think is a good thing. Like, so
Yeah.
I'm hoping he wrote it himself. If not, his girlfriend did it for him or his sister, which is straight, like that personal. Yeah. But look at this on the left. He has his career right here. Mizzou walk on starter captain in 3 years. This right here is my man. This is a new age cover letter. He sent this to the Carolina Panthers, and he's like, look, hey, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers give somehow a tryout to him next year for this.
Well, so this is so just a little bit about him. I did some research about him. He's 6'2", 260 pounds. Played defensive end for Missouri. He was a walk-on because originally he was at a Division II school, Northwest Missouri University, and he decided I wanted to be a Tiger, so he decided to quit the team. Walked on to Missouri, playing in the SEC, started the next year, and then the next year after that, he was one of the captains on the football team. So this guy knows how to start from the bottom and work his way up, man. And it's one of those types of
started at the bottom, now I'm here.
Yeah, started at the bottom, man. He is, a lot of people are pulling for him. When I found out about him, I found it on Reddit. And apparently it yielded some results because I found this before the show. And apparently the Panthers have seen him and they have taken his info and they're looking at his tape, and all of his information has been sent to the scouting department for the Carolina Panthers. So, hey, there you go. He might have a chance.
All right. I like this. I want to see next step in the evolution. First of all, we need to get Jordan Harold on the C3 Panthers podcast. That is what we got to be doing next.
Yeah.
We're going to help Jordan Harold continue on his quest. Number 2, Masim Muhammad, owner of Buffalo Wild Wings. Give my man a sponsorship. This is time. Look, is that you come in and you say, I want to mentor this young man. At the very least, I'm going to take a guy who has got a lot of, grit to him, a lot of tenacity. And I'm going to give him a chance even in business within the Wild Wings organization. That's what I want to see. So here in the Stepping Stones to Success, the C3 Panthers podcast, doing our little lily pad impression. To Masim Muhammad, supporting my man. To Captain of Industry and Titan in NFL football, Jordan Harold. It all begins here on a Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Actually, it began with you in this sign. Kudos to you. And I like how this is that the Panthers, very responsive since Tepper took the reins.
Very responsive. And hey, I agree with Legacy, Len. You love an underdog story, someone that earned their way, that didn't have anything given to them, that decided to go for it and reach for a dream. I mean, this guy's standing in front of the stadium holding a sign, wanting to be a Carolina Panther. I mean, it reeks of desperation, but hey, sometimes that's what you got to do to be seen by the right people.
One man's desperation is another man's tenacity. It's kind of like starting a podcast in 2013 and doing it every single Tuesday night at 9 p.m. all the way through 5/21/2019. It doesn't even matter if we're good. We refuse to quit, and sometimes that's enough right there. Thanks for your support in the chat room. Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're listening. A call into the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. continuing on that discussion of Christian McCaffrey, I saw on Reddit, CMC, this is posted by the Football Huddle on Reddit. CMC is one of the 4 running backs since 2010 with 1,000 rushing yards and 800 receiving yards in the same season. Those other guys, Matt Forte, Christian McCaffrey, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell. So big names there.
Yeah.
So we've gotten through MVG, MVP, chicken wings. Oh, I guess we should say this. OTA started today.
Yes, they did.
What I
Yeah,
used
go
to
ahead.
call in 2013 and 2014, when I was I think one show I called him the off-season workouts. And Joe goes, I think they're organized team workouts. So it felt like the offseason that season, obviously. But look, organized team workouts. I did see some guy in Green Bay is holding out, wanting to be traded. Something Jones, like the fighter. But Panthers start today. I guess, I don't even know what the storylines would be. Jordan Rodriguez put up a story on the Charlotte Observer, and obviously it started with Cam Newton. But where do you think the story? What are the Panthers going to do? Do we learn anything? I don't know. I don't even know how to respond to these activities opening up. What do we look at? What do we get excited about, Cody?
You get excited about hearing that none of your players broke their arm, which, by the way, when we didn't talk about this before the show, Tony, apparently Mose Frazier, they're saying that he went down at OTAs and broke his arm. And the Panthers surgeon is going to be operating on him. So
you look to Washington and Reuben Foster, a man that we're not unused to hearing his name when they're not playing football. Goes to the Washington Redskins after the scandal, the salation, and I believe he tore his ACL as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate. Then there's even rumors about, Nick Bosa already pulled a hamstring. So I don't know. You want your people to be healthy, but really you're not going to learn a lot about the formation of the team or the roster until training camp starts at Wofford. Until then, I mean, right now they're just trying to get guys loosened up, get them inundated into what we're trying to do on offense and defense, and get them going through the motions. And that's all you want from OTAs right now. A lot of players don't even show up to this. Sometimes they're mandatory. I think these are mandatory, but I know Julio Jones didn't show up to the Falcons OTAs. So, yeah, there's not a lot to learn right now, but you're just seeing videos of your favorite players back on the field warming up. That's pretty much it.
Trying to find the here we go. Let's see. No, this would have been last year. I read a Jordan Rodriguez story about this. Started with Cam Newton. I think it parlayed into a little bit of Bradbury and Shaq and the contracts. But one story that comes out on the Panthers.com that we can overlay on this, there's a lot of questions around the safety position. Rashawn Golden showing up to the OTAs, excited, confident, and ready to prove himself. This, to me, is a place where we need a guy to step into a role, and I hope we are pleasantly surprised by Rashawn Golden. A lot of people giving up on him already, Cody.
Yeah, and why would you? I mean, you basically have a player that wasn't able to show you his full potential because we didn't really have a role for him last year. Captain Munderland was still on the football team. Corn Elder is on the football team. There were players that were above him, and apparently he had some hesitance to change what he wanted to do, and he wasn't bought in to what the Carolina Panthers were wanting to do for him. And apparently that's at nickel or at safety. And the Panthers are putting this out there because they intend on making Golden a much more important player this season. We no longer have DeNorris Searcy. We no longer have Mike Adams. We have to have all the depth that we're able to pick up. And he's a young player who has been spoken very highly of. He flipped off Alabama, so hey, he's always been good in my book. I'm interested to see what the Panthers do with him. It makes me think that they want Eric Reed back there at free safety, playing the single high position, and maybe put Rashawn in the box as a run stuffer. If I had my guess, that's what I would envision them doing with
No
Rashawn this season.
way.
All right.
Totally against it. I think Eric Reed is, to me, he is a not a prototypical strong safety, a insanely awesome specimen of a guy who could be a strong safety who has some coverage ability. I just don't see the quickness just yet. And man, you know what? I need to see more. I also need to see more before I completely write him off at free safety, because what we saw was an Eric Reed who came into a foreign situation, not on the best defense on the league at the time, and stepped in there and was asked to do a lot. So I don't really know what Eric Reed, if I won't say I don't think he can be a free safety, is from what I see, he looks the part of a really dominant, strong safety. I hope that Galden is the answer for us somewhere. I don't know, though. I'm wondering when we go to the 3-4, potentially, where we're changing the way where our defense looks. My question for someone who is an X and O guru would be, does this put a premium on that fifth corner, or does it actually start to devalue that nickel corner position? I'll be interested to see if the nickel corner continues to be as important as it was, because I feel like it may be. I don't know. We'll have to ask somebody about that, or we'll have to get Cody. What do you think? Is that?
Yeah.
I don't know how to gauge it, but I've heard we don't know what the nickel corner is going to be. It has been pivotal in our system. We've heard people float this out. Do cornerbacks, are they going to be devalued in the 3-4, or do they get even more value?
And it's also our defensive backfield and how we're going to be coached this season. Knowing that Ron Rivera took over the play calling, and then you saw some players start to play better down the stretch. It looks like with the addition of Dante Jackson that we were going to move to a more man cover system, which is something that I've been calling for a long time. I mean, these badass quarterbacks out there like Mahomes and Wentz and Deshaun Watson, these young guys, they can shred zone coverage, with ease. So, I don't necessarily know the exact makeup of our defensive backfield and how it'll look, but I really do hope that we're more aggressive and that we dare teams to throw the football, get after the quarterback, and let our defensive backs make plays on the football. And I'm hoping that involves more man coverage.
All right, so as we continue to talk about OTAs, these organized team activities, I guess some of the questions that we continue to have go back to the offensive line, Cody. A lot of people excited about the additions that we've made. Matt Paradis, the big Greg Little, the not so little guy that is going to be handed the left tackle job. Continue to be stunned by how many people are calling for Moten to be moved inside as a guard. How is this possible? How do people believe that he truly is a guard when he had an exceptional season at right tackle last year?
Yeah, and apparently the Panthers like him a little bit of everywhere. They like him at tackle. They like him at guard. He's had some snaps there in college. He's had some practice reps at guard. I do know one thing, though. It does seem, and I want your opinion on this, during training camp, that's the biggest battle to look out for, is who is the right tackle for the Carolina Panthers. Because whoever the right tackle is, the other guy is going to probably be playing left guard. It's either going to be Taylor Moten at left guard and Darrell Williams at right tackle, or vice versa, which is what I think is going to end up happening. Taylor Moten at right tackle and Darrell Williams at left guard, which I think that could be a nasty offensive line.
Really, really interesting. Yeah, I do. I'm with you on that. I believe Moten is the guy at right tackle. I will be interested to see how you hear this. You've heard in the past that guys shouldn't lose their job to injury. The idea of Darrell Williams potentially losing the starting position because of injury, as in being replaced by Taylor Moten. But I don't know if Darrell Williams had solidified it as much. I would be interested to see if Moten has to beat out Williams or Williams has to beat out Moten. I know that's a small thing, but that is a leg up, literally there. And then, like you said, the answer is just at the other spot. If you don't make it at right tackle, you're our starting left guard. Very simple. That's a good fall. I didn't get right tackle, but at least I'm still starting.
Yeah, at least I'm still an offensive lineman for the Carolina Panthers. A starter, no less.
And not a
Listen,
junker.
this is my opinion. I think right tackle is Taylor Moten's position to lose. I mean, I think
I'm with you 100%. 100%. You heard it on the C3 Panthers podcast. All right, Cody, let's go ahead and bring in our guest. We're bringing in Gene Thomas tonight. Buck What You Heard podcast. He's a longtime friend of the show. He's here. We're bringing in Gene tonight to talk a little Buccaneers offseason. They're in the headlines today because they cut a franchise player, a long-term player, moved on to another big name defensive tackle. They signed Ndamukong Suh today. So some news breaking with the Bucs coincided with our need to keep up with the division. Gene, good to have you back on the C3 Panthers podcast.
All right. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Is my sound okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Awesome. I want to start out by having me on. As you know, we've been friends for a long time. Big fan of the show. I have it on my rotation at work, and I listen to you guys every week. So awesome, appreciative of good content, and shout out to the Carolina Panthers Nation out there.
All right, you still tell us? I know you used to be at Super Heavyweight. Tell us your Twitter handle real quick for people that are listening.
All right, it's at Buck What You Heard, which is a little bit easier. So you can reach me at Buck What You Heard.
The best podcast name on the internet. Buck What You Heard. It is fantastic. I've been saying that since the first time I heard it. All right, Gene, we brought you on. You are a longtime friend of the show. You go back to when we started. So, we love having you on, and we appreciate your insight. Tell us where are you ultimately on the news from today? I hate to start out with the hot take-ish type story, but it is the storyline of the day. You guys have parted ways with a player that Buccaneer fans never loved in the first place, who was the best player on their team for the last 10 years, it felt like. Gerald McCoy cut today, and Ndamukong Suh signed at the same moment. Where do you stand on this move?
Statistically, the production's about the same. As you look at it, I mean, Ndamukong Suh, they're like neck and neck as far as that goes. It was a move that had to happen for a couple of reasons. If we go back to Gerald McCoy's career in Tampa, it just seems like he's never had the help he's needed to, on the line. He's always been the main motor on that team, on that defensive line. Whenever they've had, they brought players in and they didn't help him. And a lot of people have tried to compare him to Warren Sapp, and I think that's a disservice to both of those players. He's a great player. He has been. And if you watch his game film and you watch away from the ball, which a lot of fans don't. They like to see what's going on near the ball, near the quarterback. But he does make plays, or he has made plays. So it came down to money. You're owing him $13 million, and you can sign Ndamukong Suh for 10. This allows you to sign your draft picks, and you can kind of move on with the with camp getting ready for the regular season.
So you also, though, going back to this, is that JPP, right? John the Pope
Jason
defensive
Pierre
tackle,
Paul.
also, yeah, has recently had a single person car wreck. Tell us, I heard that his status is questionable going into this season. So not only is there change just because of financial reasons, but some change there on probably the most effective pass rusher from your season last year right now dealing with what sounded like was a serious injury.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a serious injury. They were potentially looking at surgery, but he's opted. JPP has opted not to have surgery and try to recover. And hopefully, the Bucks will have his services around October, November. That's just kind of a loose guess. I guess as we get closer to that time, we'll get a better idea of what's going to happen. The one thing that I will say, and you make a great point as far as him being a first double person since Simeon Rice. So that just tells you how long of a drought it's been to have. And when Michael Bennett was here, Michael Bennett had dealt with injuries, and there were some things that went on with him. And then he ended up going to Seattle, and the rest is history. The Buccaneers are going from a 4-3 defense to a 3-4 defense with Todd Bowles coming in. To be very honest, I'm not sure how this is going to look, to be very honest. You've got Vita Vea.
We know how you feel.
So it's going to be really interesting. You're going to see a lot more defensive backs. You're going to see a lot more linebackers on the field. And it's just going to be a totally different look than what you've been used the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in years past. They, with them working that 3-4 in, and so it's going to definitely be a different look. I would say as far as productivity with Ndamukong Suh coming in, I don't know. Again, it just depends on, but I'm more excited to watch it and see what happens because honestly, I don't have a clue. I mean, what they're going to do. When you totally switch over your scheme from one scheme to another, I know some people adjust to it easily and other ones don't. So,
Gene, let me jump in and put this to you. Well, first off, I've always had a soft spot for Gerald McCoy because he's a nerd like me. I mean, the dude has life-size Batman figurines. I mean, he's a child at heart, and Cam Newton is very much the same way. So I've always appreciated the inner nerd in him. Us nerds stick together. But now that he's not on your defensive line, how is that Tampa defensive line looking now that JPP has had his thing go on, and now that you're losing someone that's been such a fixture on that defensive line? You just drafted a brand new middle linebacker. Now that you're going to a 3-4, are you confident that you at least have enough pieces to be able to put together a consistent pass rush in the NFC South?
This is going to be really interesting, and I heard because a lot of questions are out there. Was the coaching that bad, or was the player personnel that bad to where you had 2 5-win seasons in a row? I believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the talent on this team. You have to play people where their strengths are, and like for instance, you look at a Noah Spence, a guy who's totally forgotten last year, but who showed flashes when he was healthy for this team. And I feel like this is a guy that he has a chance to reemerge and do some things. Another guy, Carl Nassib, who the Tampa Bay Buccaneers picked up, and he was very productive. And I'm sure you guys got to see some of that when he did face the Carolina Panthers. He was very productive and getting pressure on the quarterback. So there are some players out there that are going to get the opportunity to step up. I like Todd Bowles. I always have liked Todd Bowles. When he was in Arizona, I thought he did a good job with the talent that he had, getting the best out of players in the best where they can play I guess is what I want to say. And I really believe that we have a competent coaching staff. I think the Bucks have the largest coaching staff in the NFL because what they're doing
Hold on. It froze up on us.
Yeah, let me see if you there, Gene?
I saw movement.
Hold on.
Okay, you
Hold on.
froze up for a second. It's fine. You're back now.
Okay. So the camp
All
this
right.
year is
So
going to be interesting. No, go ahead.
you were saying that you have the biggest coaching staff in the NFL?
Yeah, because they're going to have two different practices going on. So everybody is going to get playing time. Everybody's going to get looked at. And that's something that the Bucks didn't have last year. There are guys that didn't get reps. And I think what Bruce Arians is trying to do is trying to make sure that who he's seeing everybody, and everybody's getting an opportunity to show what they can do. So it's going to be interesting. If you keep an eye on Greg Auman is a great person to follow. If you're not following him, if you want to get Bucks news, he's like one of my favorites as far as the person that covers. Jenna Lane from ESPN is another one that's a great person to follow as far as the Bucks. And they will be at camp where you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about here. So again, I
Imagine
personally
being a reporter. Imagine being the reporter that has to cover the dang practice that's got two practices going on at the same time.
yeah,
You're
it's gonna be
going to
crazy.
your boss. You're going to your boss, and they're going, "How come you didn't get a story out on the offense today?" And you're like, "Damn it, boss! There's two freaking teams out here.
Yeah.
There's two teams. I don't know how you're gonna do that. I hope that you know what I would if I would like Cody. Wouldn't you go home saying I have the biggest staff in the NFL? That's what I would go home and saying every day.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, if you got it, flaunt it, right? I mean, shit,
Yeah.
come on. Hey, if yours is the biggest, it's just the biggest, and that's a fact.
And the only reason I say that is because you don't have players standing around. Everybody's working out. Everybody is involved
Yeah.
in camp, and I like that concept because you never know if you're missing out on somebody, and it takes an injury sometimes to realize, oh, this guy is good, and let's get him out here and get him some playing time. So I'm actually looking forward to this camp.
Let me ask you, Cody. Let me jump in. I wanted
Okay, all right.
1 second. Is that Underground West said this? Is before we get deeper into the football thing. Any thoughts on playing the Panthers in London and playing us twice before like week 7?
I'm actually going to be at that game in London, so
Shut up.
I'm really yeah. My stepdaughter lives in Birmingham, so I'm gonna catch the train and catch the train into London and check out the game.
Nice,
Yeah.
man. Have
That's
fun.
cool
That ought to be
All right,
incredible.
Mike's to you, Cody.
Yeah, so Gene, I remember when you were on our show last year before the start of last season, and Jameis had yet to serve that 3-game suspension, and then Fitzmagic turned on, and he was a great quarterback for 3 whole games. But now you have the quarterback whisperer as your head coach. And I remember last year, we were talking with you about, is it time to move on from the number 1 pick in the 2015 draft? Is Jameis the player that you're hoping that, the number 1 draft pick turns out to be? How confident are you about Jameis Winston now that Bruce Arians is the new head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? He's a well-respected veteran amongst NFL circles. He's fantastic around a quarterback. Are you hopeful that this is the year that Jameis finally lives up to the potential that everyone saw in him when he was at Florida State?
Is interesting you say that. I'm going to carry this back to what I was talking about before. I really believe that the coaching was very, I want to say subpar. They fired the defensive coordinator in the middle of the season. If that, and then the head coach was gone, after the season. I think, as you mentioned about Bruce Arians, he is a good coach. I mean, you saw what he did with subpar quarterbacks in Arizona. I really believe that, with that much confidence in Jameis Winston, where our previous head coach did not, I think you're going to see something a little bit different. And again, Bruce Arians plays players to their strengths and not their weaknesses. So I think he's going to set Jameis up to succeed, and it's going to be all up to Jameis to go in there and make it happen.
Do you believe in him? Do you
Yes,
feel?
I really do.
Okay, go ahead. Expand
I
on
can go
that.
back. I can go back to 2012, and there have been quarterbacks that have come out on the field
That's
in the
a
fourth
long
quarter.
time to go back.
And,
That's a
and
long time going back.
I'm going to
You
get.
know,
I'm going to get to
I
where I'm
used to
going
be
real quick.
skinny in 2012 too.
I'm going to get where I'm going real quick. So the defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has been a liability for a long time. They've not been able to stop opponents in the fourth quarter. They've not been able to protect leads, and that's just been the way it's been. I realize that Jameis Winston has had turnovers and stuff like that, but if you look at a lot of his games, he's kept the Bucs in games in the late quarters, and they just haven't been able to sustain that lead. So I believe that, when you've got a head coach that can come in here and he's competent, you can get the running game going. You look at their wide receiver core, Chris Godwin. If you're not familiar with him, you will be, along with Mike Evans, and you have O.J. Howard, and Cameron Braid is coming back off injury, to name a few guys. And I believe that I have enough weapons here that Jameis Winston can be successful with this team.
Ken D in the chat room asked this, and I think it's a good question. Who the heck you guys got at running back?
Peyton Barber. And then you've got
Tell us a little bit about that, and then segue that into the draft. What did you guys do? Where you guys stand at running back, and then let's go into the offseason, what the Bucs did to get better. We've heard a lot about their coaching staff, so let's start with that running attack, setting that up, and then move on.
Okay. Peyton Barber is the running. He was the running back last year. He will be the guy that it will be his job to lose this year. Peyton Barber ended up with 859 yards. And keep in mind, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were not committed to the run. There was a game against the Carolina Panthers where the Panthers were behind, and they came back because they couldn't establish a running game. The Bucs could not establish a running game all year to hold a comfortable lead and run out the clock. Peyton Barber is a good running back, and I think if you set him up in the right position, right place, I think that he's going to surprise a lot of people this year, especially.
Let's move on to the draft and ask you this: what did you guys do to get better this offseason? We saw a move today when it comes to McCoy, changing out the guard a little bit for a more temporary fix that could be lateral move potentially. But what did you guys target in the draft and this offseason to get better, Gene?
I really like the move. The Bucs went out and they got a bunch of cornerbacks, and I know that over the past since 2016, the Bucs have like 9 cornerbacks or
9,000 of them.
Well, this is the one thing that this is the only thing I can really think of is that you're getting these cornerbacks because Bruce Arians wants his guys in there. And he was very integral in the draft this year. The big name that the Bucs came away with was Devin White, the linebacker, to replace Quan Alexander. And I'm real happy with that move. I wasn't at first. I wanted D-line help. I was more interested in what the Bucs were going to do with D-line. But at this point, that's a moot point now because of what they've done. So basically, going out and getting a Devin White, who's a linebacker that can cover, and I would consider him an upgrade over Quan Alexander just based on his ceiling right now.
Wow. Do you any disappointment? Then I'm gonna get, Cody. You get the next question after this. In any world where you slightly, I know that everybody has backed Devin White. There was no question that he was going to be the draft pick. But as that board unfolded, now that you know JPP has hurt his neck to a certain, is there any kind of secret remorse that you didn't get Josh Allen? Or is it Josh Allen, John Allen, one of the whatever that guy was? That's awesome. That
he's playing for Jacksonville right now. Yeah. Personally, no. when I've had a chance, I was mad at first. I'm going to be very honest. First night, I was mad. I wanted a defensive tackle, and I just did. I wanted somebody on the line. We can all agree, watching the playoffs, watching the wild card last year, watching the Super Bowl, how important winning in the trenches is. And
Yes.
we know that the NFL is a copycat league, and the Buccaneers had there are some there, and I felt like the Bucs could have improved on the defensive line. But again, you look at what they have now, and that's kind of a moot point. But I think that with Devin White being able to cover and also being able to attack the quarterback and tackle, I think he's a more well-rounded linebacker and less of a liability, especially in coverage. So I'm real happy with the move. Hindsight, and again, losing Kendall Beckwith, whose injury in a car accident last year, he's still physically unable to perform. So they've gone out and they've gotten some players in free agency and made some moves to try to strengthen this defense. But I think what it's all going to come down to is the Buccaneers playing as a team, and both sides of the ball, 4 quarters of football.
Well, Gene, I can tell you this. I scouted a ton of players writing for DraftTech.com for the Panthers. And, man, I think Devin White, he has the potential to be an incredible linebacker. And, in today's NFL, we as Panther fans know the importance of how dominant an inside linebacker is, because we have Luke Kuechly running around on the field. But
I'm still mad Luke Kuechly is not a Buccaneer.
Yeah, man, listen, that middle linebacker position is incredibly important. And when you have a guy that can call out the plays and make all the tackles, man, that is such a linchpin to your defense. It's so incredibly important. He's a raw player because he hasn't been playing linebacker very long. He started as a fullback and then he converted to linebacker at LSU. So, he might have some growing pains. But man, once he really puts his nose in the book, I mean, he has the potential to be a fantastic linebacker. I had him ranked higher than Roquan Smith coming out the year before. So, y'all definitely got a good player, man.
Now, is he somebody? I'm going to ask you this, just kind of, kind of flip the question here. Would if he were available and the Panthers had a chance to get him, would you be mad if they had gone after him?
Tony and I talked about this a few weeks before the draft. Now that Thomas Davis has left the team, man, putting him next to Luke Kuechly and letting him learn from a player like number 59, I mean, that would be a perfect scenario. Imagine running the football on those two. I mean, that would be a nightmare duo. Now, middle linebacker wasn't the biggest issue for the Panthers to have to address. So while I might not have been happy with the pick, I would not have been unhappy with the player that Devin White has the potential to be, and especially if you added him to our linebacker core. So, yeah, I'm a fan of him. I think he'll be better than Quan Alexander was for Tampa. I really do.
Yeah, and we can both agree. And I know a lot of people were upset when he ended up going to San Francisco, but I felt like San Francisco overpaid for him. Again, here's a guy that and again, that's just his style, where he liked to freelance. Yeah. He was out of position a lot of times, and he, again, as I mentioned before, he was a liability in coverage. So, and there were games against the Panthers where he was exploited badly, just because of that.
Yeah.
Guys, we've got Joe Riolano in the house, I believe. Joe, are you there?
Joe, what's happening?
What's up, guys? Gene, it's good to see you, buddy. It's been a long time.
Happy New Year.
Same to you, my man.
This is the kind of friends we are. We 5 months late, but we're still great friends. Joe, man, it's good to hear your voice. Glad to have you on the show. Topic right now is Bucks and the Bucks off season. You can go ahead, Joe. Any thoughts on the day? Sue, you sent me the message that Sue had been signed. What are your questions or thoughts when it comes to division rival Bucks? Gene on the podcast with us.
Well, Sue has bounced around the league here for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And never seemed to be able to find a home once he left Detroit. I don't know. I mean, it looks good on paper, but he's so inconsistent. I mean, madly inconsistent. Gene, you may have gone over this already, but why let go of McCoy? Was it a money issue?
It was definitely a money issue. You owed Joe McCoy $13 million. You can sign Ndamukong Suh at 10, and you can sign all of your draft picks. And
So
you
only
can kind of
saved $3 million. You're going to introduce a guy into the team who on a 1-year deal and only save $3 million, and then you're going to with a reputation of being a dirty player.
It's a rental, and you look at the projection for the draft next year. There are going to be some really good players, especially out of Alabama. And again, it works for right now. And the Bucs roster is fluid, so you may see more changes, moving forward. Somebody may emerge that unseats him, like we saw with Carl Nassib last year, where nobody expected Carl Nassib to be where he is, and now he's got quite a important place with the on this Bucs defense. So
what does McCoy have left? That's one of the things we're sitting here thinking about Suh to the Bucs, because that's naturally what's happened. A player has come, but one player who has been relatively healthy and productive throughout his career, I would say arguably very consistent, just a consistent player up the middle, the best player on a defensive line with nothing. What does McCoy have left? What do you see him offering to another team?
I think he can offer experience, and I think if you put him in the right position next to the right player, I think he can definitely. He still has a couple of years, 3 years more, to left in him, that I think that he can play at that level where he can, help a team to get to a Super Bowl or a playoffs. I could see him playing for a Colts team, or God forbid, a New Orleans Saints team. But there are some teams. Yeah, there is just some teams out there that I think that Joe McCoy would be a good fit, where he could come in, and he's a consummate professional veteran. I think that you've got a plug and play guy. If you can bring him in and get him signed, I think that you've got a guy that you can plug into your defense, and it immediately makes it better than what it was.
Joe, no room on the Saints for Gerald McCoy. They signed Wes Horton today.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no room on. That's right. Maybe he can come to Carolina and rotate along the defensive front.
Joe, what do you think about that? How would McCoy fit in a three? I mean, he could be, to me, he seems like, and this is where I think it's kind of strange, is that he looks like a defensive end in a 3-4 system.
Oh, yeah, totally. He definitely would be.
Yeah, he's an amazing three technique guy.
I don't think he'd fit us, but that's where he would play.
He's the guy that you wanted that athletic defensive tackle before. I think he's like, I mean, he's what I guess Aaron Donald has become what we had hoped so many of these guys would be. Right. And McCoy doesn't look like a defensive tackle. That's the thing to me, is McCoy looks to me like a defensive end. And to me, I think he fits perfectly on a 3-4 system. And that's where the strange thing comes in here, Gene. You guys are transitioning to a 3-4. I guess you needed somebody that was a little bit bigger. I feel like Suh's a natural space eater. McCoy seems like the leaner guy. May not have gotten to the quarterback as much as you wished.
Yeah. Again, and this not to pick at wounds for some of the fans, if there are Bucs fans out there listening, but there were so many times I've watched game film on Gerald McCoy away from the ball where he's making plays. He's drawing these double teams and there are other times that you didn't see that from him. So, he's over 30. And again, I think he's
31. You
working
went
very,
up a year with Sue. Sue's a year older.
yeah. So
These guys, by
again,
the way, are all younger than all of us.
yeah,
Cody, Cody might be about
we're
the same age.
talking football years. Like you talk about dog years, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah. All right.
But
Joey, let me ask you this: what is from afar, from the outside looking in at the Bucs, and all I've seen throughout Gerald McCoy's 9 seasons is a player who they didn't like. The fans never liked Gerald McCoy as a person or something. Something was he just never reached that expectation.
I can tell you
maybe
what it is.
They set the my question to you, Joey, and then I'll go to Cody, and then I'll let Gene give us the answer. But who's that guy for the Carolina Panthers in the history of the team? The player who is played better than we thought of them. Who is that guy when it comes to the Carolina Panthers and their history? I'm trying to think. For me, I think it's Charles Johnson is close to it. But I feel like he was endeared. He's still Panther fans still
the fans love that guy.
They do love him, but for a long time they gave him the super big money tag.
Yeah.
Over. I'm trying to think, who is the player? Is it D'Angelo now? Because we hate his ass, like we hate his personality.
Oh, we definitely hate him.
Yeah, we just hate him as a person. He's just like
hate D'Angelo. Hold on, why would you hate D'Angelo?
So let me tell you why. All D'Angelo Williams does is talk shit about the Panthers now, man. I mean, he's on record all the time. Just whenever he has an opportunity to take a jab at the organization or coaches and players and stuff like that, he never skips a beat.
It
man.
never had anything to do with his play. Like the time that people stopped liking D'Angelo Williams was when they got to know him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
That's the thing.
Wow.
I promise you is that when they got to know D'Angelo Williams as the person, it's not even that he's a bad dude. It's not like he punched his wife or his girlfriend on camera or something. It's not like any of that. It's just like, God, it's kind of the kid. It's like being around a 5th grade kid making stupid fart jokes, and you're like, man, nobody's
or the
laughing.
know-it-all, or the class know-it-all.
Yeah,
everybody hates the class know-it-all.
He's just irritating. Joey, is there another name that you got other than, to me, it's D'Angelo Williams? Well, I was going to say Charles Johnson because of maybe his play, but I don't think I'm right because we loved him as a player. Yeah. Who is the perennial underrated Panther?
Maybe underrated Panther. Maybe going back, and maybe it would be Kevin Green.
No,
really?
Yeah,
really.
He's a Hall of Famer, though.
He played at Pittsburgh, and he came here, played a couple years here. I know we didn't like him, but then, he went out to San Francisco and left us high and dry.
The chat room's got to say, who is the perennial underrated player when it comes to the Carolina Panthers?
I know mine, and mine's a more recent one. I think it's Trey Turner. I think Trey Turner is an incredibly underrated player. And I really do think that in 2017, when Darrell Williams was supposedly a top-rated Pro Football Focus right tackle in the NFL, man, Trey Turner helped out a lot in that scenario, man. A lot of our division rivals were killing Darrell Williams with his inside moves, and Trey Turner would always be there to pick up the slack. And there's a reason that we paid him. That's a very important position on our offensive line. And, you'll remember a game where Fletcher Cox just beats his ass because that's Fletcher Cox. But other than that, man, Trey Turner has really been a very important piece of our offense that helps us be able to do all the things that we have to do, run the football and protect Cam Newton.
It has to be an offensive lineman. That's all
Yeah.
I'm going to say. It has
Okay.
to be. They're talking about it. It has to be an offensive lineman. I look
can't
at some
wait.
of the shots.
Say it. Iron Bell.
So what?
Byron Bell. No. Byron Bell. No. He's most despised, one of the most despised Panthers until Matt Khalil got here.
Hell no.
How about this?
It's one of those guys because it has to be. It just has to be offensive lineman. Your defense always plays up. Running back, I could understand. I can understand your Pickett. I can't think of who's the guy we were just talking about.
Williams.
Yeah, Williams. If it's
Yeah.
not D'Angelo Williams, it has to be offensive lineman. Somebody on your
How
offensive
about
line.
this? Lynn said, Legacy Lynn, who is one of the nicest people you'll find on the planet, called D'Angelo Williams slime in the chat room.
Yeah.
Like, you ain't got. All right. I got the name, Joe. I got the name.
Okay.
Chris Jenkins.
Yeah.
How about some Jordan?
I was trying to see that.
He was, and I don't think. See, the problem is that Panther fans are nice, so we don't trash on anyone who's just even okay. So it's kind of hard to say perennial underrated when we're cheering and celebrating every damn player like the next Hall of Famer. So I felt like we loved Chris Jenkins when he was here, but boy, did he go on to be. He was like the Aaron Donald of 2004.
Yeah.
2002. You know what I'm saying? Chris Jenkins went on to the Jets and became essentially the best defensive tackle in the league. Did struggle with injury. Pretty interesting. All right, so
I do want to jump in and say one more person. This past draft is the first time that we had made a genuine attempt to get Cam Newton a franchise left tackle since Jordan Gross.
Well, yeah, which was before Cam Newton.
Yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying though. Before Cam Newton and during during the first 2 years of Cam Newton's career, man, Jordan Gross was such an underrated left tackle, and we haven't been able to replace him since. So that should kind of speak for itself, in my opinion. But yeah, I agree with Gene.
Aldley says John Casey.
That's what I was thinking too.
So good. Was such a great Panther. But you know, I got a problem with it. Went and kicked for the Saints.
Yeah, then that happened.
And he blew the kickoff in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And I am not willing to argue that it's John Fox's fault that he went for it 2 times and we didn't get it. Is that you cannot kick it out of bounds, dude.
Right.
You only got one job. You only have one job in the NFL.
He choked. He did choke there. I'm pretty sure he's UGA guy too. University of Georgia, man. My family, I bought into it. All right, so Gene, final thoughts on actually this. We've talked about Devin White. We've talked about the McCoy stuff. What'd you guys do? What's a move that none of us are paying attention to that you liked or thought was necessary for your team this offseason?
Let's see. I felt like they had to really fix the cornerback position, just considering how bad the secondary has been all these years. I think that was something that needed to be done. And
Miko still fuck with y'all?
You know what? I actually messaged her. You know, they've kind of disappeared and just, I guess, basically disappeared. I don't know. Other than Shaquille Barrett, I think there's a name that you're gonna really want to pay attention to. As far as linebacker goes, picking him up in the offseason from Denver. I thought that was a good move and definitely helped this team. If he has a monster season, the Bucs are going to have trouble with him and Carl Nassib trying to re-sign him next year. But I think for linebacker core, I think they've upgraded in a lot of positions in the linebacker core. So I'm really excited to see what this defense is going to look like once they roll everything out.
Gene, before you go, can I tell you one of my favorite picks of your draft that I think is really underrated? Jamel Dean, the cornerback out of Auburn, the 3rd-round pick. Let me tell you, man, he has to put it together, but he has all the physical tools and traits to be a shutdown corner in the NFL. He's long, he's a big guy, he's fast. He has to put it together, and he's going to need some work. But a lot of teams were really high on him after the combine. And, I mean, that could be a corner that you guys haven't had in a long time to really stir some things up. So I would say look out for him as well, man.
Yeah, most definitely. He's a guy that when you looked at the draft and all the cornerbacks that were picked, I know that Bruce Arians had a lot to do with the player personnel. He's a great talent evaluator from what I remember from him at the Arizona Cardinals. And I felt like he had more emphasis on this draft. And, these are guys that he wanted to try to make this team better. So basically all of your veterans that are on this team are served notice. You got to go out there and play or you're going to be gone. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see at the end of camp who stays and who goes. And just remember the Bucs camp or the Bucs roster is fluid, and you're definitely going to still continue to see changes going into the first game of the season.
All right, Gene, tell them how they can find you on social media and your podcast, Buck What You Heard.
Okay, you can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I'll follow you back. I love talking football. Or you can reach me at Buck What You Heard, 21.9 beers per carry. And you follow me, I'm serious. I will follow you back. It doesn't matter what team you're for, unless it's Atlanta.
I will tell you this, the greatest line in football history has to be whatever that running back said. If you need 4, I'll get you 3. If you need 2, I'll get you 3. Like,
that's right.
3 beers. That's what I will say. Gene, thanks a lot, man, for joining the show. We appreciate it.
All right. And shout out to Panthers Nation. Football is supposed to be fun. We're a family, a microcosm of the rest of the world. And I really enjoy talking with people about different teams. So don't be a stranger. If you follow me, I definitely will follow you back because I miss football and I'm ready for it to start right now.
You know he does because he's still coming on the show 6 years later. That's Gene Thomas. You can follow him at Buck What You Heard. Let's keep plowing through with the content, guys. Right. Thanks a lot, Gene. Joe, what we got here is we've talked pretty much about everything when it comes to, I'm trying to think. I looked at my notes. Is there anything on your mind about this team at this point? OTA start. I guess here we'll kind of turn around the league and talk a couple of things. I saw this NFL.com. Guess who didn't show up for Raiders OTAs? Antonio Brown, not there. He is in peak physical shape. We don't know about his mental fitness, but Derek Carr not really going out of his way to dispel the discussion about him as a player and a team guy, does he, Joey?
No, I heard he was back in Pittsburgh because he had a court case he had to attend. That's what I heard. I don't know how true that is, but that's what they said.
Yeah.
Other news in the league, Cody, is the Bosa dude already. San Francisco may have hurt feelings, but he's got a hurt hamstring.
Yeah, I have not seen the extent of the injury, but yeah, man, something about the Bosa boys, man. Even Joey Bosa.
Oh, they do have bad hammies, don't they?
Yeah, man. They hamstring, and then they had a quad injury that made them miss the season at Ohio State. That's why he dropped out, or not dropped out, but he basically said, "I'm preparing for the draft now," and recovered from a core injury. So yeah, man, it would suck because everyone's saying San Francisco, they're the team on the up and up, and they got
Mm-hmm.
Garoppolo and a million players on the defensive line that they should be able to roll with. So yeah, losing the second pick in the draft, that's gotta suck.
For
But
sure.
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We
And
haven't seen.
losing Reuben Foster, too.
Yeah, and I think more people were probably happier about Ruben getting injured than Nick because of things surrounding his past. But
Not me. Not me. Is I think Reuben Foster is a victim of circumstance in a lot of cases. Is that his girlfriend went crazy ass and threw he beat me at him twice, and the whole world chastised him for and then so I don't know.
yeah, but at a
I
certain
don't
point,
know Reuben Foster as a human being other than I know he had that issue with the dog or something.
at a
Maybe that
certain
was
point, when you know that hoe is crazy, you gotta leave her alone, man. That's his fault for continuing to mess with her, man. Did you have to stay away from these crazy women? Not all women, but some of these women are crazy, man. And if you don't stay away from the bad ones, they'll take an opportunity to ruin a man. So I don't feel too bad for him if he didn't have enough hindsight. But
What
that's
do you
just me.
guys think about this? Ben Roethlisberger in in-depth review on NFL.com. In-depth interview with Bob Pompany from a CBS affiliate in Pittsburgh. He said this, quote, I'm just reading it, so I have no idea what the tone is. But this is quote, I'll start by saying you're right. AB made me who I am. He was the greatest wide receiver I ever played with, and the things that he did in this league and we did together are among the best of all time. You're talking about Joe Montana and Rice, Aikman and Irvin, some of those great names to be mentioned with those same names is so humbling. Thankful for the relationship we had and playing together. And you're right, there were some great things, and then all of a sudden it just kind of disappeared. I'm not sure where it went. What do you guys think about Ben Roethlisberger? Damage control here. What now? I don't. What is this? I don't know how to even interpret this. I thought Roethlisberger would be dark on this subject, trying to come out the bigger man, maybe.
Yeah, I think he is trying to earn some. What am I looking for? He's trying to come out as the better man. Yes, he is trying to win some points with people saying, "I don't know where it came from." I've tried to talk to him. I've called him. I've texted him. I've emailed him, and he's never responded. And saying, he can't focus on it anymore. He's got to take the guys who are there and work with them to, meet expectations. That he doesn't have time to worry about Brown anymore. He did everything he could, and he's putting it on Brown.
Strange, Cody, though, that he goes and says he made me who I am when he's won 2 Super Bowls. I don't even know if Brown has won any.
The problem is, though, is now it seems very disingenuous. I mean, it's all after the fact. Now you want to say, oh, yeah, I should have done things better. Well, you know what, man? I mean, you should have said that to him. You should have said it when he was a teammate on your football team. I don't know. And now it doesn't do anything for him because people have already formed their opinion of Antonio Brown. If you think that he's a diva who's all in it for himself, or you believe, kind of how I do, is that Ben Roethlisberger is a douchebag that treats all of his teammates like trash. So I don't know. I've always held that opinion about Ben Roethlisberger. I don't know.
Can we not have both? Can we not believe both?
Absolutely, we can
That's where I
absolutely.
kind of am at this point. I've been the biggest supporter of Le'Veon Bell. I gave Antonio Brown the benefit of the doubt. But Le'Veon Bell and his auto-tune rap video just totally turned me off completely. And the fact that is that like these guys, it's kind of, I felt, and I'm not going to be a Game of Thrones discussion show because I haven't gotten close to the end. I'm finishing season 5 tonight after the show probably. But Cody, one of the things I think is admirable about shows is when they call it quits before the storyline runs up, before the characters get stale. I kind of felt like somebody told me, this is how The Walking Dead became to me. My friend said, you got to go back to The Walking Dead. It came back. It made a resurgence. It's back. It's good again. You can only be so great in the minds and hearts of people. The more you put yourself out there, the less we like you. It's kind of like D'Angelo Williams. Once we got to know you, we dislike you. I'm starting to feel that way about Antonio Brown and maybe even Auto-Tune Le'Veon.
I mean, there's so much drama, man. People just putting themselves out there for the sake of boosting their celebrity. That's why I said earlier, I don't want any other running back right now other than Christian McCaffrey. That level of physical dedication and honing your craft mixed with his athleticism, man, it's none of the drama and the BS. That's a guy who's putting his nose down. He wants to go and whoop some ass with the Carolina Panthers and Cam Newton. So I'm times like these make me thankful that our locker room isn't a bunch of divas looking out for their own selves and their own personalities.
Brock Morgan in the YouTube chat says, no spoilers. I've been dying to start a Twitter handle called Game of Thrones Spoilers and just be 5 seasons behind everybody. Like, because I watched this one. I watched the end of season 3. I think it was 3. No, yeah, maybe 4, where the guy, somebody's head gets squashed like a pineapple. It gets erupted. And I'm sitting here watching this like crazy, like, oh my goodness. And then I want to tweet about it or say something. And I go, man, the internet, they don't care about what happened 4 years ago. I want to be old hot takes or old Game of Thrones spoiler. Speaking of drama, though, Joey, let me say this, is Cody was a big advocate of ripping the Band-Aid off, get rid of the GM, get a new head coach, moving on. But as you look to what's going on with Crazy Eye Adam Gase and the New York Jets.
Oh my God. That's a freaking circus.
How did they go from being like Todd Bowles is the only guy that looks sane coming out of there, and he's the dude they have fired.
Yeah. Maybe that's why he wasn't so upset about losing. I don't know, man.
They can't get out of their own way, can they, Joey?
No, they can't. And it's so strange. Got rid of one guy, and then you bring the coach in and you give him his job. But from what I heard, they're looking for a replacement for Gase as GM. And you want to bring somebody else in to be GM.
It's a strange relationship to have, to where we had a guest on the show, and we'll have to go back through the archives to pull out the footage. But the idea of isn't it kind of bizarre to you just hire a new head coach, the guy that hired him, you fire him, and now you bring in a new boss? How can how can Gase not be the boss?
I know.
It seems at this point you're just bringing in a puppet guy, or you can't believe that you believe in the GM more than Gase when you did this.
Right. Exactly right. And I don't know if there was a problem between Gase and the GM. I don't know if they had an issue or what, but it seems very strange, the whole way, the way everything went down.
Listen to this. As Lynn just said, she saw a tweet that the Giants fans were all excited about the announcement that New York GM fired. Then they realized it was the Jets, not the.
They were happy. They thought it was gentlemen.
Oh shit! That's awesome. That is freaking hilarious. Hey, I mean, I don't want to be overcritical of Gettleman because I feel like I used to have vote for Gettleman for president, and that's how much I bought into it and believed it. There's some questionable things there, but there's less and there's more question than not. It seems like each and every moment, and it almost seems that the Odell Beckham Jr. is the least strange thing out of all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like out of all of that, that should be the irate, crazy move. But that's like the least perplexing move out of all the perplexing moves.
Yeah, pretty much. Absolutely right.
Drafting a quarterback
It was
with the
probably
sixth pick.
the worst move.
Yeah, and drafting a quarterback with the sixth pick that probably was a third-round talent at best. I mean, they drafted a quarterback because he had a good quarterback coach that was tied to Peyton and Eli Manning. So, yeah, it's getting pretty hard to defend.
Did you see the picture today that came out? And who was the guy that posted it? I saw someone post it, and they go, "Yeah, that is a real picture." Jeff Schwartz retweeted it, and it was a picture of Eli and Daniel Jones standing beside each other, and they look like the exact same human being. I mean, the exact same. I almost thought it was photoshopped. Jeff Schwartz was the one that tweeted it out. Cody, if you actually could you go to Jeff Schwartz's Twitter page maybe and pull that up for us as we kind of finish the show out? I think it's an interesting thing. All right, you're listening to C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we bring you the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. Let's go ahead and get into the cat calls for the night. Cody, while he's finding that, we're going to jump into the cat calls. The number's 252-228-5098.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use
one? Hey C3, I just want to let you guys know that I love y'all and you guys have an amazing podcast. And, I'm driving home from work, and it's a beautiful day outside. I was just thinking of things that make me happy. And something that I remember that I don't really think about too much anymore is that the fucking Falcons blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl.
I forgot about that.
Hey, before hold on, G, 1 second. Thanks for that. We love you too. I also saw this. Did you hear that? Did you see that tweet floating around about the kid? Some guy said some kid put it in a Charlotte yearbook or something. He's like still like the cat, like his senior photo was. So, all right. Okay. So thanks you. We love you. We love that show. Cody, I'm gonna send you the link too if you can't find it.
Send me the link and then I'll post it up.
G Cavassier is here.
Y'all know who this is.
What's up, G?
RCA. Hey, there's a lot to talk about, in my opinion. So, hey, I know y'all done seen it, man. The Dominican Sue signed with the damn Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man. That shocked me, man. I mean, I like him as a defensive tackle. I just think he's a dirty son of a bitch, but he's a space eater.
Dan's talking about
but I think that our offensive line can hold this dude back, man. And to me, and you guys can agree with me or disagree with me, what the hell are the damn Panthers doing? I see that we signed the dude, Aldrick Robinson. We signed with the Panthers, and they said this dude has speed and everything like that. And in my opinion, if they sign Aldrick Robinson, that means Torrey Smith is going to be gone next month. I just have that feeling they're going to cut him to save some daggone money. That's just my opinion, And I also see that Gerald McCoy, is not a Tampa Bay Buccaneer no more, you know. And yeah, I'm gonna say it. I would like him to come to the Carolina Panthers. You know, I would like to get rid of Poe, but I know to get rid of Poe, that will take like a $6 or $9 million hit. So my thing is, why don't we cut down Vernon Butler? Because to me, this dude is taking up space, man, and then sign Gerald McCoy, you know, to a 1-year deal. You know what I'm saying? It's possible. And I don't know what the hell we're doing for the free safety position. I don't know. I'm guessing something's going to happen next month. You know, I know some people want Trey Boston to come back, and I would like him to come back because he's a fellow Tar Heel. And I wouldn't mind seeing Eric Berry play that position either, even though I think Eric Berry's more of a strong safety, whatever. But either or would be good. Except Eric Berry, you know, he hasn't played a full season in, 2 years? So it's kind of iffy. And fellas, I know you guys are on Twitter. I know you've seen the new Panthers team reporter, Caroline Can. Eye candy. I'm telling you, man.
That's why she's going to be making videos. They already said she's like the visual
That's a tall
reporter.
woman, man. But, you know, I just want to say welcome to her and welcome to the best damn NFL team, you know what I'm saying, in the South and in the world. So y'all just give me your opinions on what I talked about tonight. And always remember, keep pounding, baby.
She's what they call a tall drink of water.
Yes,
She's 6 foot tall, so she said the players will not tower over her like some of those other reporters. You know, is they brought in a good looking female reporter to do the video stuff because it turns out Max Henson, we love you. Who's our other boy? Hold on. Black and Blue Review. Bill Voth. You cover us, but boy, you are the opposite of a tall drink of water in that sense right there. So, when it comes to
more like a small glass
just
of
go ahead.
juice.
Yeah, small glass of juice made from that frozen concentrate we used to get out of the freezer section. You remember when Joe, do you remember that where you had to, no one does that anymore, where you remember that, like you used to buy that like brick of orange juice in the freezer section and it was just ice. Yeah, and then you made a pitcher of orange juice.
Yep.
I went and looked.
Water.
Yeah, you just add water, and I went and looked. Instead of getting real orange juice, that is just acid and keeps pretty well. They thought, let's freeze this sucker.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out those mugs are more expensive. I was like, man, I want to see what that's like because I was we're gonna make some adult beverages. I thought, man, that would be good to add for something like that. You could get some concentrate up in there.
Mm-hmm.
That mess is more expensive than real orange juice.
Oh yeah.
At the frozen brick. Strange. All right, so we got some eye candy when it comes to the Panthers reporters. G. Cavassier is there talking about this team. Ndamukong Suh, dirty player, was a discussion in the chat room. We have to worry about him around Cam Newton because Cam Newton and him, because he calls him Donkey Kong Sue, which again, people hated that. Hate Cam Newton, hate all of that. Any other thoughts before we go on with the next call, guys?
Just to kind of touch on what Jude was saying, you know, would I love to have Gerald McCoy more than Vernon Butler? Yeah, but I don't know if that's something feasible that's going to happen. I think our boy Gene hit the nail on the head. I would probably say that New Orleans might probably be the most likely landing spot for Gerald, even though I do hate that. But man, you know, Aldrick Robinson, that's a player that we didn't talk about. We signed Aldrick Robinson. I believe he was playing for Minnesota, so another Minnesota player that we've gotten down here. And yeah, man, listen, Tony, Joey,
you know how Redskin.
You know how I feel about Torrey Smith. I mean, he might have some incredible season. I'm just personally not a big believer in the player. I mean, give me that locker room guy spiel all you want. I'm not a big believer in it. You have to be able to produce on the field, and I agree with our man G. Cavassi. I'd much rather have Aldrick Robinson out there. mixed in with some other younger guys, and kind of see what ends up being what. Especially if he's a cheaper player, I'd much rather have him.
I don't understand this. If there is a knock on the offseason, it's got to be with the receiver group, guys. Is we went from a core of receivers who were giant and could not get separation to a bunch of midgets who are very fast. We are, and I don't believe it's a bad thing necessarily, but there is what I was critical of with the Carolina Panthers when we had Devin Funchess, Kevin Benjamin, that type of squad. When we were even excited about who was my man that was a former Georgia Tech wide receiver, Stephen Hill, those types of receivers. We're talking about these big, tall guys. Now we just what we were critical, or I was critical, was a lack of diversification and skill set. Right now, the tallest guy in that receiver group, Chris Hogan, 6'2", everybody else 6 foot and below. You're adding small speed to a group of small speedsters. My question, I think, at the end of the day is less about Torrey Smith's replacement and what is this going to do for special teams, punt return, kick return. We do need a solution at that, and it is not DJ Moore, who struggled with that in his rookie year. It is not Christian McCaffrey, who already plays 100% of the snaps. We have had some uncertainty back there. I think we're searching at that point. That's what this truly is about. It's about special teams.
Yeah, I agree with most of everything that you just said. I feel a lot of our success at the receiver position is honestly banking on Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore really having a great year this year. I mean, those are two primary weapons, and I know we're all pulling for them, and everyone else is just kind of. Yeah, everyone else is just kind of whatever, man. Torrey Smith, Aldrick Robinson, Chris Hogan. Like, there's all these external pieces that we're hoping turns into something that's, sustainable and is a good safety valve player for Cam Newton to throw the ball to, kind of like how Philly Brown was in 2015. So, I don't know.
Get ready for your starting receiver core for your 5 receivers to be DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Torrey Smith, Chris Hogan, and Jarris Wright. That's who I think the 5 receivers are. I think you add in one other guy who may be classified as a receiver, truly just a special teamer. That's what Trill says. Ross is a return specialist. We're going to need something back there. Who is the return guy? Last year we had a running back doing it. Who was the guy that Gettleman drafted? Kenyon Barner did a little bit of it. We don't have that answer, and that has been problematic for the Carolina Panthers in the past. We've been at training camp, Joey, watching Ben Wickery and Philly Brown fielding punts and kickoffs, and those years were not exciting. If you remember, nothing went well. We were begging for Ted Ginn back. Question marks at that return guy position, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we definitely have to go out and find somebody. But they're on the roster. I think they're on the roster now. It'll just be a matter of somebody standing out as a returner.
All right, you're listening to C3 Panthers podcast. The number's 252-228-5098. Let's keep plowing through with your cat calls.
What's up, fellas? Pigskin Pete here, calling to talk about Carolina Panthers. What else?
Hold on. No, he's not. Here he is. He called twice.
What's up, fellas? This is Pigskin Pete here. Been wanting to get on the show for a while, man. Cody's been calling into my show. Much love to Cody. Much love to both of you, actually.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to talk about the draft, and I haven't had a chance to be on the show because I'm an old man. Usually by the time you guys have the show, man, I'm fast asleep sawing wood with some Z's. But so I was happy with the the draft overall, I gave the Panthers probably a B plus or an A minus. I was happy with the first pick. I was happy with the second pick. I was extremely disappointed with the third pick. And not because I don't think that Will Grier is a good quarterback, but I think there's a lot of other needs that could have been addressed at that time. And to take him number 3 overall, let's be real, it baffled me.
Yeah.
I mean, I was breaking shit in the house, type of thing. That's how bad that pissed me off. But now that I've had a couple of weeks to decompress about that, I'm over it, and so I'm welcoming Will Grier to Panther Nation with open arms. And I hope that if something happens to Cam Newton, if he's not able to play, God forbid, that he can, make things happen. But after that, in the later rounds, I was really happy that with Hardman, I was really happy with Holyfield too. Between the tackles, Bruiser, because I think it will be a good complement behind C-Mac. So I'm really happy with that. Now I just heard you guys talking about Will C-Mac. Can he be an MVP? I agree with both of you. There's no way he's going to be an MVP as a running back because, to get MVP as a running back, you got to have outrageous stats. Now, he's had outrageous stats the past couple of years, and people are overlooking that too. He's caught more passes than any other running back in the country, putting up crazy yards. And if it weren't for C-Mac, he probably would have won 2 games last year, despite the fact that he lost, what was it, 7 out of the last 8 or 6 out of the last 7 or whatever it was. But he won't get the MVP. It's just sort of it's like the Heisman Trophy, The running backs do not get MVPs no more unless that's the only player on the team they got. And let's be real here, with Cam Newton at the helm, if he's healthy, and all the weapons we got on offense, he's not going to get the MVP, but he's the MVP in my book. And on top of that, you two are the MVPs for the Carolina Panther Nation in my book. Peace and love. Catch y'all later. Much love. Peace and peace. Checking out.
Much love, man. Listen, if you're a fan of college football, especially if you're a fan of Clemson football, go check out my man Pigskin Pete on YouTube. He puts out great content as well. And I agree with just about everything he said. Everything from Will Grier. I wasn't happy with it at first. I wanted some more depth, but it is what it is. Overall, I'm happy with the build-up of this team right now.
Yeah, and a lot of unknowns. I think that's just uncertainty surrounding it all. And the Will Grier pick is meaningless to me in some ways. It would have been great if you get a guy who's going to be a star. You get a Charles Johnson in the 3rd round. That's what happened. You picked Charles Johnson in the 3rd round. That would have been helpful in a couple of years. But, you got to place your faith in what the Panthers, what they're doing. Is Marty Hurney's done a lot of good work for this organization. I continue to be a supporter of Marty Hurney and what he's done in the draft and in the last couple of off seasons. So we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And the bad news for Will Grier is that if things go bad for the Carolina Panthers, unless he comes in and plays like the damn next Aaron Rodgers, things are going to go bad for him as well. And the reason I'm saying is that if things go bad and Cam's shoulder is jacked up and we're at the Will Grier moment, and unless he's anything less than just damn phenomenal, you're going to have a new GM, a new coach, and guys that don't give a shit about Will Grier next year. Yeah, so if you're Will Grier at this point, you better hope that Cam Newton's healthy and your ass looks good in the preseason. And what we hear is that Will Grier just is North Turner's bread and butter. If he was on a different team, he'd be starting, and then we trade him to the Dolphins.
Exactly. That would be great.
I mean, that's what I think we're at. All right. That's the C3 Panthers podcast for the moment. We've got one last segment, the cat calls. We just did the cat calls. We got to do our ice up picks. You can be a part of the show by calling the cat calls line, 252-228-5098. We'll get your calls in next week. Tuesday, we'll have some more to talk about when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. So go ahead and give us a thumbs up, a subscribe, a like, a share, tell a friend about the show. and just tune in Tuesday nights or download the podcast afterwards. Leave a review. Cody, let's jump into the Ice Up picks of the week. And why don't you? Well, do you want to go first? I know that you got a good one.
I'm down for whatever, man. If y'all want to go,
I
you
don't
got
know
Joe Real
how
on.
great mine is.
Joe, go ahead.
All right, I'm icing up a very well-known athlete and personality. He became general manager for a team he played for as an athlete, and brought a big-time player to the team from another team. And I don't know, he quit the year after he brought. I'm talking about Magic Johnson.
Yeah, we all knew it was coming.
He's an idiot because he had a real opportunity here to do something. He really could have turned the franchise he made relevant. He really could have turned them around, but he didn't want to put in the time. He was more focused about being a TV personality and dealing with his other businesses than being a general manager of the Lakers. And I think it's shameful what he did. Brought LeBron over here and just didn't finish what he started and quit because he couldn't work with certain people in the organization. And I think that sucks for the guys that he traded out, sucks for the guys who were there hoping, to be able to be part of something special. So I'm icing him up because he really did let down a bunch of players, a bunch of fans, and just didn't really show his best side. And for that,
no, he wants to be up there with Charles Barkley and
right, exactly. He wants to be on TV. That's it. He's more worried about that. So for that reason, I'm picking Magic Johnson to get iced up, son.
Well, I'm going to jump in there next, and I was going to make all of y'all happy and ice up Democratic politicians. They still get my ice right now because the whole still trying to impeach Trump. At this point, you lost. You didn't get it. Let's turn our instead of our preconceived notions and turn to things. Let's go and actually try to do some work for us rather than whatever you're being. So that was going to be my ice, but the real ice has got to go to the Portland Trailblazers. They blew 4 consecutive double-digit leads. How do you lead in every game by more than 10 and not win a single game, including they were swept last night? Steph Curry is really is just a tremendously exciting player. One of those players who could be the best player in the NBA when it comes offensively, but just because of the nature of what he plays, he can't ever be as valuable as a LeBron James potentially or a Kevin Durant. There's some limitations there, but boy, Steph Curry really stepping up and taking the Golden State Warriors and making them one exciting product, even though Kevin Durant has done. The Portland Trailblazers get my ice, and they are in the ice tub after they blew another double-digit lead, once again telling us that the NBA playoffs are irrelevant. You don't have to watch any of it. We'll just tune into the NBA Finals, and we all know that right now that there's nothing to care about other than this Giannis dude, maybe Steph Curry also. Ice up Portland.
Ice up Portland. So listen, man. I am absolutely certain that there is a politician who goes by the name Ben Carson, and if you've ever seen him, either of two things are true. Either he is a hardcore stoner and none of us know about it, like the dude is.
Or we all know about it. We all know about it.
Yeah, the dude is just chiefing all the time, or the man's brain is melting on a daily basis. I have never seen another human being who is always looks like they are on the verge of a nap. I have never seen it in my entire life. He is the most lackadaisical man you'll ever see in your life.
This is so good.
But I have new evidence that supports the former theory that my man is indeed a stoner, because my man is not thinking about home loans and everything that affects you middle class bottom feeders. No, my man has something else on the brain.
As you look it up, I'd also like you to get back to me, if you don't mind, to explain the disparity in REO rates. Do you know what an REO is?
An Oreo?
No, not an Oreo.
Not an Oreo.
REO. REO.
Real estate?
What's the O stand for?
E-organization?
Owned, real estate owned. That's what happens when a property goes to foreclosure. We call it an REO. And FHA loans have much higher REOs. That is, they go to foreclosure.
He's like, whatever, bro. I don't want
Play it again. Play it again. Please play it one more time.
I want some Oreos. I have the munchies like a mofo. I need Oreos in my mouth right now. Why aren't they in front of me?
As you look it up, I'd also like you to get back to me, if you don't mind, to explain the disparity in REO rates. Do you know what an REO is?
An Oreo?
No, not an Oreo.
Not an Oreo.
REO.
Real estate?
Real estate.
What's the O stand for?
That's my favorite part, is where my man goes, real estate? I feel like we're calling on somebody in class, where you pick on the stunner kid in class in the background, and he's like, history? He's like, what is that? Is that not only did he say Oreo, did they say, do you know what the O means? Real estate? It's so good. So good.
It is confirmed that Ben Carson is a hardcore stoner, so he better be in favor of every legalization of marijuana law that there is, because this man is chiefing before he goes into Congress or whatever he's doing. Whenever he's talking to people, man, he's thinking about food. He's thinking about literally anything else in the world. Certainly not politics, and certainly not your home that got foreclosed on.
Man, I'm telling you, there's an opioid epidemic in America, and that right there, my man just looks like he popped a couple of Oxycontin and went before Congress.
Yeah, man. Listen, to Ben Carson, to Ben Carson, I do not know how this man was a brain surgeon. Apparently, he was separating brains at one point in time. And
that's a good point. Good point. Brain surgeon. That's a brain surgeon right here.
But hey, man, I'm just I stopped Ben Carson.
I think it got even better. My favorite part is this: is my man was brought before Congress to testify, and they were like, "Well, what do you think about that?" And he'll be like, "Well, how about I just put you in touch with the people that know about that shit?" Like, that's what he was like. He said that. He was like, "Well, I can always just put you in touch with those people." And she was like, "Nah, used to work there. I'm asking you." And he's like, "I'll introduce you."
He's like, "Hey, man, I'm way too high for this shit right now. I know this other dude and that dude will fill you in on all that bullshit that you're talking right now, because I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about some Oreos as well."
Yeah, double stuff, only way to go. All right, peanut butter Oreos, strangely okay, shouldn't be. All right. This is the C3 Panthers podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Joe Riolano in the house. Good to talk to you, brother. How can they follow you on Twitter?
Guys, if you want to get at me on Twitter, look for me at Joe Villano.
Cody, where can they get after you, my friend?
At Cody Lack, CODYLAC. Hit me up on Twitter, whatever you want. It's all go.
My name's Tony Dunn. They call me the Professor. You can find me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. We appreciate all your support. Andrew, Brock, Legacyland, Trill, Underground West from the beginning. You guys are Ken D in the house. Thank you so much for your support in the chat room. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We'll check you out next Tuesday. Keep pounding.